Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news this evening, and of course it all revolves around Manchester United's sale and a bidding war around Manchester United as Sir Jim Radcliffe admits that he would like to buy Manchester United. We're going to be talking about Dubai sovereign wealth funds. We're going to be talking about bidders trying to get David Beckham to back their bid. Where have you heard that before? We're also going to be talking about somebody who tried to buy Manchester United around 10 years ago, Jim O'Neill, the Red Knights. He's been talking about this as well and how he would like to get back involved if there is a realistic price set by the Glazers. If I was to say to you that there is so much to talk about in this next 40 minutes or so, I wouldn't be lying. There is so much to discuss around Manchester United, and you probably need a pen and paper to grab your head around it because there's so many updates coming in about who would be interested. We've even got Amazon and Facebook interested in buying Manchester United as well. And we'll be explaining what a sovereign wealth fund is as well. I've been learning a lot myself from conversations this afternoon. So loads and loads to get into. Let's get straight into it. But before we do that, can I just remind you that the show is sponsored by Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. You can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the link in the description or scan the QR code. Manscaped, what is it? Well, it's this thing. It's the Lawnmower 4.0. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. For down there, it's got a light on for a more precise shave. You can adjust the lengths on it. It's waterproof. It's got electromagnetic induction charging where you can drop it into the port, which comes with it. There's also the weed whacker for your nose, which is part of the performance package, where you can get a travel bag, ball deodorant, all sorts of stuff. Christmas is coming. You might want to treat yourself or get someone to treat it for you. Free worldwide shipping, 20% off. Manscaped. Precision engineering for your family jewels. Brilliant products. Check it out. Manscaped. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show. And as I said, you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the link through the video description or by using the code United Stand. Big shout out to Manscaped. And Manchester United are certainly, well, the Glazers are certainly looking to sell, aren't they? I think we can establish that from 24 hours ago. Where to start? I'm not going to start with Sir Jim Radcliffe because I think that Beth and Charlie did a very good job discussing that earlier. What I want to talk about first of all is this breaking news story from the Financial Times that many of the people bidding for Manchester United are trying to get David Beckham involved, and that he's actually open to being involved. We've got to be very careful here, and the one thing I would say at the start is that beware the charm offensive. There are people in the chat saying, I want the oil money. There are people saying Ambani. There are people saying Sir Jim. And I think that ultimately I don't know that we'll have any decision to make in this, but I'm starting to come round to the opinion that I just want somebody very rich to buy Manchester United. I don't know what their background's going to be, and that's going to be something that we're all going to have to bear in mind. But how rich they are is going to be really, really important, because I just don't believe in the modern game that you can be successful with a responsible owner anymore. And that's very, very sad. I tweeted this afternoon, I think Sir Jim Radcliffe would have been a great owner in 2006. But I don't think now, if you bring somebody in who's in charge of the club, who says, I'm going to run this club responsibly, we're going to lower the wage bill, we're going to live off what we make, we're going to rebuild the stadium gradually, and Manchester United is going to be a community football club that is run responsibly. That sounds absolutely perfect. That sounds absolutely incredible. That sounds like the dream that many people would want. But I'd almost guarantee we won't win anything, because I don't think you can just be run responsibly anymore, because that's not the rules of the world we live in. It's like, deciding that you're not going to buy any vegetables from Tesco anymore. You're just going to grow your own. It's a brilliant way to live, but it might not necessarily be the best thing to do in the modern world. For some people it is, for some people it isn't. I don't think that, if I'm being absolutely honest with myself, we need somebody to come in that can compete with Man City and Newcastle. Otherwise, we won't compete with Newcastle and Man City. And maybe Sir Jim Radcliffe can be that, but maybe he can't. And maybe we do need to go for somebody who's just super wealthy. But that might not be what the Glazers are thinking of doing. I'll tell you what is funny, though. The manipulation angle. I mentioned this at lunchtime. I said I wouldn't be surprised if one of the bidders get involved ex-players, because that will play on the heartstrings of the fans. Whoever gets David Beckham involved, they're basically that's gonna be the people that the fans want, isn't it? I'd be very wary of that. It will happen, but it's almost a bit of a smokescreen. Oh, we've got David Beckham on our bid. Well, David Beckham's been involved in the Qatar stuff, and look how controversial that was. You know, I love David Beckham. Absolutely love David Beckham. There's a lot of other legends I love, and I'll fall for that as well. But, you know, it's a very clever move. And I said that at lunchtime. I guarantee some of these bidders will try and get ex-players involved, because if you get one of those, you can almost, you know, you're almost home and dry. Ari says, I don't want the ex-players. They seem dubious on the type of players we need. It's scary. I want someone who wants to make us successful, says Ari. Nothing against them, but I don't want an ex-player involved. They offer nothing but PR, need a rich owner, and unsure Jim is that person, says Rory C. And welcome to the Members Club, Kieran. Well, let's just look. Let's just go through some of the things that have been said today. There are there are numerous bids out there. There are numerous people talking about wanting Manchester United. Just as a recap, I suppose if we do it in order, just as a recap, it came out from the Telegraph earlier on today that Sir Jim Radcliffe is interested in buying Manchester United. Sir Jim is wary about overpaying for Manchester United, as insiders suggest the Glazers are looking for a price in excess of £5 billion. I think that was coming in from the Times. It was James Ducker in the Telegraph who said that Sir Jim Radcliffe will bid for Manchester United. However, he goes on to say that sources close to Sir Jim say he always wants to put business logic before passion, and that the Times also goes on to say that Sir Jim Radcliffe's renewed interest in Manchester United is said to be serious. He has a rule when launching takeovers that they expect investments to pay off or increase significantly in value after 3 years. Look, I don't know what that means. But the Financial Times have said that one banker close to the process said Man United could be sold for close to $7 billion. A bidding war could send it higher. However, some footballing finance experts have said that even a $4 to $5 billion price tag was too high for a club that was unprofitable last year. We'll talk about the price in a minute. Look, I don't think... Well, somebody just said it there. Can Sir Jim or any other buyer like him compete with oil? And I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I think it's like Brighton and Graham Potter, who's not the manager anymore, competing with Chelsea. Graham Potter had to go to Chelsea. What he had at Brighton, they beat Chelsea. They beat Chelsea with Potter, actually. Potter was the manager of Chelsea. But Brighton have a ceiling. They have a brilliant infrastructure. They have, they've got another good manager now, and they have a good way of playing. But they don't have the power to compete with the Chelseas or the Man Cities or the Newcastles. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I've been thinking about this a lot today. Ryan, welcome to the Members Club. I've been thinking about it a lot today. And more and more, I just think if we get a new owner, we might not get another owner for 30 years. This for many of us, this might be the only change in Manchester United ownership in our lifetime. We've got to get it right. And I think everybody has their own idea. If I said to you who United should buy as a striker, there's probably 5 different percentages of 5 different strikers at least. So if I said to you who should be United's next owner, there's going to be lots of different opinions. And people are saying oil me up in the chat, and people are saying Sir Jim and all these names. I don't know who I want to own Manchester United. But I think I know who I don't want to own Manchester United. I don't want another Glazer, which comes in and wants to bleed the club dry, but I don't think we'll get one anymore. I'm not opposed to American ownership. I'm not opposed to Indian ownership, English ownership, Middle Eastern ownership. I'm not opposed to anything on location. I'm opposed to 2 things. I'm opposed to a Glazer type ownership, but we won't get that because when the Glazers bought us, United were on the up and we were a cash cow ready to be milked. We're on the way down now. We can't be milked without massive investment. There actually isn't a Glazer ownership model out there that's going to buy us, because when the Glazers bought us, we were ripe to be picked and eaten. You can't buy Man United now and just make money out of us. You've got to invest. So I'm not worried about a Glazer type owner because we're not that club anymore. We need rebuilding. So whoever buys us has to invest, which means they're not going to be able to take profit out short term. So we need, and then the next thing I don't want, I suppose it's what Michael Knighton was talking about. I don't want somebody who's a Man United fan to mortgage themselves up to the hilt to get the club in the right hands. And to be fair, Michael Knighton said he wanted to just get the club off the Glazers and then get investment in to buy the club. That's what he said. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't need to do that now because they're selling. We don't need to get the club out of the Glazers' hands because they're selling. So we don't need the people to buy the club now who really haven't got the money but are just doing it to get the club. We need to just sell to somebody who's got a load of money. And to be honest with you, I'm not totally comfortable with what I'm about to say, but if I said to you, there's a Man United fan who loves Manchester United and he's got £5 billion to buy the club and the Glazers will sell it him, but then the club will have to be run on its own profits year to year. And that's all it'll have, which is about 100 million profit, isn't it, a year? That's all we've got to spend on everything. Or do you want to sell it to somebody for £5 billion who's not a Man United fan, but has got £5 billion to spend on the club tomorrow? Do you want the Man United fan who wants to run it as a business, effectively, a self-operating business? Or do you want the non-United fan who wants to buy it because other clubs have been bought and they want to own Man United, make it great? And that's the question, isn't it? What do you want? I think some people want the first model. They want the United fan to own the club and run it responsibly. And if Man City and Newcastle are bigger than us, so what? At least we've got our club back. But then there are other people who go, I actually want us to win things. I want us to be owned like Man City and Newcastle are. I want us to be, and Chelsea are. I want us to be super wealthy and compete. But you know what? Also, I think people are getting lost here. People are talking about oil, oil, oil. Todd Bowley's not oil, and Chelsea are minted. So it's not. I think people get a bit stereotypical. Oh, we want an oil owner. There are very rich people out there who've got nothing to do with oil. Chelsea are not oil, and they're loaded. So it's not just that. It's not a choice between a lifelong Man United fan who wants to run it as a business and oil. There's a lot of things in between. I am going to run a poll on it, but I want to go through some of the news a bit first as well. So, look, who else could be buying Man United? We know Sir Jim Radcliffe's involved. Maybe that would include Beckham, because I think Gary Neville was rumoured to be involved in Sir Jim Radcliffe. So maybe the Sir Jim Radcliffe thing is going to get the ex-players in and play on the heartstrings. Maybe that's the plan for that. And I'm not opposed to that. God, anything's better than Glazers. I'm just saying, personally, I'm spending time thinking at the moment about what's best for Man United. And I want us to, ultimately, we've had 17 years of the Glazers and we did win titles at the start, but for the last 10 years, it's been a joke. I want us to win. I've had 10 years of us not winning. We've not even competed for a Premier League title. I want us to win the title. I don't think the nicest person in the world can buy United and make us successful unless they've got the wealth that other clubs like Chelsea and Newcastle and Man City have got. And maybe Liverpool are about to get really wealthy as well. Do we want to sit there in 5th place every year going, well, at least we've got good ownership who care about the club, but they haven't got the money to compete? I don't think we want that. Success is not guaranteed even with huge finance, so be wary of cheering on new owners because they show their decision-making process as Big Ash. Well, exactly, yeah. Let me just go through some of the breaking news then. So about 10 years ago, a little bit longer, the Red Knights tried to buy Man United from the Glazers, hostile takeover. It didn't work. Jim O'Neill was part of that. He's been speaking to the press and said that he would be interested in buying Manchester United, but the Glazers are putting unrealistic demands. The price is unrealistic. Going public isn't even needed if you've got good buyers already lined up for something that's good. Effectively, they are trying to generate a public auction, and they need to be very careful because the fans won't be too happy about US ownership. It's interesting. Somebody said today as well, the next owner of Manchester United is unlikely to be a Man United fan because the wealth needed to buy the club it's probably not going to be United fans. It's going to be like Man City and Newcastle, who weren't life-born Man City or Newcastle fans. They want a football club. So Jim is worth 3 times as much as the Glazers. Big acquisitions like this are not as simple as people think. So Jim is an expert in deal structures. Look at Twitter. Elon didn't spend the 44 billion all himself, says Brody. Hi, Mark. Well, look, all I'd say about Sir Jim Radcliffe is do your homework. He might be the best manager he might be the best owner for Manchester United, but he's also a very methodical businessman, as has been said in the papers today. So I don't know. I mean, ultimately, the grass, I think, will ultimately be greener. But I don't think we'll get a better opportunity to actually be able to compete with Man City and Newcastle. And maybe that needs super wealth. That's all I'm saying. Liam Collins says, hi, Mark. Got my Man United Christmas jumper the other day. Superb quality. And maybe we need an oil owner to finally restore the club, says Liam. I want trophies. And most importantly, I want us to go to Anfield and cack on them game after game, says Darshan. Let's be honest. We want a bit of both. It's extremely difficult. I want our club back, but winning is paramount. Sitting on the fence, to be honest, says Danny. And doing an amazing job on the United stand. You should be proud of yourself, says Gareth. Lots of people getting their opinion in. I realise it's a contentious thing. Now, the Times also, just talking about oil, the Times have mentioned that there is expected to be an offer coming in from Dubai, and that this same Dubai money fund, I'll explain it in a minute, was interested in Liverpool. And a lot of people that are interested in Man United had been interested in Liverpool. So we may well end up in a situation where Liverpool's owners could be people that looked at us, and the people that buy us could have been looking at Liverpool. So we could be in a situation where the biggest rivals in the Premier League could well be looking over our shoulders at who gets what owner and going, we could have had that. So, yeah, it's quite interesting in that sense. I think there will be a lot of people looking at United who will then look at Liverpool or vice versa. I'm looking forward to the Glazers selling, but could there be a danger of no new players in the January transfer window, says Joe? Well, I don't know about that, Joe. I mean, you speak to experts in the industry and they're saying that a sale of this magnitude could take months and months and months and months and months. But when we say money coming from Dubai, what do we mean? So what the papers are basically saying is that the Dubai money would be coming from something called a sovereign wealth fund. Now, there's a lot of these sovereign wealth funds, and there's a lot of countries that have them. I actually read somewhere that the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund is the most is the richest sovereign wealth fund in the world. I don't know whether that's true or not, but apparently Norway's got one. Basically, what a sovereign wealth fund is the wealth of that state or country is basically used to diversify their portfolio. So if Manchester United had a wealth fund, we would diversify into buying lots of different things, whether it's commodities or energy or whatever. So that's what these sovereign wealth funds are, and obviously they're very wealthy. Saudi Arabia is Newcastle. I think Qatar is PSG, and Abu Dhabi, I think, is Man City, isn't it? So Dubai is apparently the one that is looking now to invest in a football club. So their sovereign wealth fund or investment fund or whatever you want to call it, there is one there that is Dubai based, which has got the money to do it. And that's a rumour that's going around today. And obviously that wealth fund would predominantly be based on oil wealth, of course. Good news from US. I literally just had a dream that you became the owner of the club, says G. Yeah, I haven't got a sovereign wealth fund, unfortunately. Hi, Mark. I want to order the Christmas jumper. I'm torn on the size. I'm 5'9", medium, Isaac. I mean, this is a Christmas jumper as well. I forgot to mention this. This is a new design that we've got as well. It's available at United Stand Shopify. Free message. Just want to use it to say keep up the good work, guys, says Nash. Thank you very much. Hi, Mark. Thank you very much. I don't want to hear from United fans. Oil United begging for sugar daddy. Embarrassing, says Legend. And if our owners care and provide, that's all that matters. Also great to see how far this channel has come, says Relic. Thank you very much. And Sir Jim is worth 12 billion, but his Ineos company rakes in 60 billion a year. I think he has more than enough to take us to the top, says Jay. But can I just say this, Jay? I think what people are saying about Sir Jim Radcliffe, and they've even said it in the papers today, he's not rich because he threw his money at football clubs. He runs businesses responsibly. I would predict that Sir Jim Radcliffe will not pay £6 billion for Man United because he thinks we're not worth it. I would predict that if he got hold of Manchester United, he would stop the club paying £85 million for Anthony when he's not worth it. I think he would stop the club spending silly wages on players because they're not worth it. I think in many ways those things would be very good for Manchester United. We're crying out for some responsible ownership. There is a lot of good someone like that could do who's a lifelong Man United fan and an excellent business person. There is no doubt that Sir Jim Radcliffe would be a very good owner for Manchester United. The question is, could he compete with the Man Cities and Newcastles of this world who will pay the big wages and who will pay the big transfer fees? Would someone like Sir Jim Radcliffe agree to Man United buying Jack Grealish for £100 million? I don't think he would, because it's irresponsible. But Man City would. And what I'm saying is, there's a dilemma here. Do you want the moral, responsible ownership, the lifelong Man United fan, or do you want the potentially immoral super wealth that will make us win trophies? Because it will just spend. And it's not an easy choice. Dubai ICD Group will bring in the best in class of everything, rebuild the stadium and buy the best players. We would get back on our perch again, says Vincent. I also don't want any supporters group involved. Too many vested interests that just want to be there with zero experience, says Rory C. And SK say, yes, Norway built it from North Sea oil during the Thatcher era. UK had the same opportunity, but that's a different topic, says SK. And maybe we should get bought by the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund then, but they'd probably put Ollie in charge. United can be way more profitable than currently. Just look at $2 billion wasted by the Glazers while managing, says Duncan. We can, you're right. It's a very conflicting feeling, says Dougie. Well, we'll do a poll. I mean, the poll doesn't really matter because it's all about opinion, of course. But make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video while I just get my thoughts together and put this poll out, which I'm trying to do, but my live chat is just frozen there. Why is my poll not started? Okay, end poll. We've just done a yes or no poll. We don't want to do that. I tell you what I have seen a lot of though on social media, and this makes me laugh. It's not fair. The Premier League need to look into it if Man United are going to get bought by super wealthy people. Like, I've literally seen journalists and fans on social media saying the Premier League need to look into Man United or Liverpool getting bought by wealthy owners. I'm like, oh my God. So it's fine for Man City and Newcastle to have it, but suddenly a big club like Man United or Liverpool might get owned by super wealthy owners and it's unfair. Ridiculous. Right, either or. Super wealthy owner or responsible owner. And what we mean by that is super wealthy is the Man City, the Newcastle type. They're not United fans, but they just want to own a football club and, you know, spend a load of money on it. Or do you want the responsible owner who, you know, is maybe a lifelong United fan, very good business person, wants to make the club self-sufficient and, you know, yeah. I'm torn, to be honest. I see what you're saying about the Man City Newcastle model, but it's almost like playing a video game with cheat codes. It doesn't feel as good when you beat the game, says Brody. And I agree. You know, every part of me wants the responsible ownership. I want United to run itself. We do make a lot of money. We've been in debt for 17 years. We make a lot of money. We can make a lot of money. But I think even if we built the stadium and got rid of the debt, and got the sponsors back, and got the feel-good back, I think our profit each year would be max 200 million. Now, is 200 million profit enough each year to compete with those clubs that are super wealthy? We've created a monster, and it's not our fault. You know, the fans kick back. The fans kick back all the time. We stopped the Super League, which is why the Glazers are going. We kick back, but we don't control the game. We're the most powerful voice, but we don't control the game. I think that's very, very sad. But we can't complain about super wealthy owners now. The World Cup's being played in Qatar. Like, that's the biggest example of money. That World Cup went to Qatar because of money. It was meant to be coming to England or somewhere else, and it went to Qatar because of money. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's not my point. What I'm saying is Man City and PSG and Newcastle are owned by super wealthy people. Chelsea are now owned by super wealthy people, and they were owned by Roman Abramovich, super wealthy. Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea, 20 years ago? This is not a new concept. Football's been heading in this direction for a long time. I think the door's already closed on we want responsible ownership. We do want responsible ownership, of course we do, but we'll be playing to our own rules. Everyone else are playing to different rules. If the Premier League suddenly said every club must be run responsibly and we don't want super wealthy billionaires involved in football, we'd all be playing to the same tune. But how do you compete when you run your club responsibly against people that have just got super wealth? And that's the dilemma, isn't it? Do you want responsible ownership, or do you want we're minted and we are going to make this club amazing because we want to and we're minted? And honestly, I've been thinking about it today. I never thought I'd have to think about this because I didn't think the Glazers were going to sell ever at one point. But I just think it's a choice between, do you want to win the league? Do you want to compete for the league? Do you want to compete for the Champions League every year? Well, if you want that, I think it's very obvious at the moment that you need to be super wealthy. And if you're not super wealthy, I don't think you're going to compete. I mean, as I said, if Newcastle get top four, that's Newcastle and Man City in the top four forever. There's only 2 more spots. Well, if Liverpool becomes super wealthy, that's 3 spots gone. It's just the way football's gone, and we can't feel bad about it because we didn't create it. Radcliffe could bring in third-party investors to bring in funds and still be responsible with the club, says Asher. What about Amazon or Facebook possibly bidding to buy United? So that story came in from the Mail today, that Facebook and Amazon are interested. How that would work, I do not know, because this always pisses me off. In the early noughties, Murdoch tried to buy Manchester United, which is Sky, and that got stopped because it would have been a monopoly, because obviously Sky had the TV rights. Well, Amazon have got TV rights, so I mean, I don't think Amazon would be a bad thing to buy Man United, would they? I mean, I buy stuff on Amazon. I'm sure you do. People will say morally they don't pay their staff enough money, but you know what? Any billionaire you find, there'll be some moral question somewhere. So, look, everyone's got to make their own mind up, and I think people will start falling out about this, but I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, and at the moment we don't really know what the options are. And above all this, the Glazers make the choice because they'll probably go for the highest bidder. Radcliffe could bring in third-party investors to bring in funds and still be responsible with the club, says Asher. And remember, super wealthy don't necessarily mean dodgy oil wealth funds. Just could be a rich dude like that Indian fella, says Rory. Well, look, Todd Bowley's rich. Chelsea are rich. It's not oil. Never take a knife to a gunfight. City, PSG, Newcastle have the guns, says Michael. Super wealthy owners have done nothing but make City what they are today. Our aim as fans is what's best for United, says Red Smurf United. And there's a lot of Liverpool fans who think like that as well. Just on the poll, if you're interested, 72% want a super wealthy owner and 28% want a responsible owner. So Jim does not own Ineos, Nice. Ineos own them and do this, and the same would happen to us, says Spur. Can I just repeat what was put out this afternoon by a journalist? And these are not my words, so take them as you wish. It came from the Telegraph, which was the same outlet that broke Sir Jim Radcliffe was interested in Manchester United. Sir Jim Radcliffe's renewed interest in buying Manchester United is serious. Ineos has a rule when launching takeovers that they expect investments to pay off or increase significantly in value after 3 years. So it would be run as a business, but it has to be run as a business. That's not a negative thing. Whoever buys Man United has to make it into a business. And there's lots of ways that we can do that because the Glazers have dropped the ball. Man City have spent a lot of money, but they're now turning a profit. So Newcastle will have the same aim. Super wealthy people can buy you, but they still want to turn you into a viable business. And there is no business in football, apart from probably Real Madrid and Barcelona, that is more potential than Man United to turn a profit and be more than it is at the moment. So it'll be a very attractive situation. OGC Nice should be looked at. Radcliffe owns them. Heard they are not doing well and have bought in some underperforming players. We should go for the Dubai group, says HKN. I would not trust Facebook running our club. Their new endeavours are not succeeding, and I don't want their possible failures affecting our finances, says Kevin. Hi Mark, what about a Real Madrid type ownership with a Sir Jim Radcliffe type owner with a very rich sponsor? Well, another thing, and I'll run a poll on this as well. Because a lot of people, let me just end that one. A lot of people, to a lot of people, this is really important. Do you want fan ownership from the new owner? Do you want fan ownership from the new owner? Because that's something that must want, and some fans do want it. I'll give you a couple of minutes to answer because I don't want to be in any way leading people on that. But what do I want to happen? I really do hope that. I mean, I don't want it to happen because of the Glazers, but I do want a bidding war. I do want the people to buy us who really want us. And if somebody's willing to pay 7 billion for United, that's great news for the Glazers, and I don't like that. But if somebody's willing to buy us for 7 billion, which is probably 3.5 billion more than we're worth, if they're willing to pay 7 billion for us, God knows what they're willing to do to us when they've got us, in a good way. I almost quite like the idea of clubs wanting to overpay for us because they're that desperate to get hold of us. Because you can't be desperate to get hold of us in our current state to make money. We won't make you money. If you spend 6 billion on United, you've got to invest in us to get your money back. So I almost want the whole bidding war. I almost want super wealthy and responsible owners to try and get us, because the more bidding war we have, the more hunger there is. And you want the hungriest person to buy Man United. Because like I say, I've heard people today saying, we don't want another Glazer. And I'm like, do you actually analyse Man United? When the Glazers bought us, we just had 5 years of immense success from 1999. You know, we'd won 3 titles in a row. We had brand deals coming out our arse. We were innovative. We were we were rich, and we were on the way up, and we were going to keep winning titles. And the Glazers bought us, and they used all that success and bled it dry over the next 17 years. You don't buy United now and go, oh, I'm going to bleed it dry, because there's nothing to bleed. We're not winning titles. Sponsors are turning their back. The stadium needs rebuilding. We are not what the Glazers bought. We are not a cash cow. We need investment. We won't be a cash cow for maybe 5-10 years. So it's going to need a lot of investment to make us a cash cow. So I've got no fear about a Glazer owner, because you can't come into the club and just bleed us dry. There's nothing to bleed. Super wealthy owners don't take out dividends as part of their business, says Reds. And no way, us fans don't have a clue. Look at the Barca basket case. Elections won based on promises with funds that are not there, says Rory. Super wealthy owners don't really make much of a difference at already massive clubs. We proved we can flourish on our own without paying 2 billion to banks, says Duncan. How Cristiano said, football is business now. It's been a fact. In the end, I just want to see Man United in glory again, or at least competing for silver. And that helps bringing in the pricey players, says Omar. Tally up what the Glazers spent last year over the last decade. We're already spending close to super wealthy clubs. Expectation is set. That is the only way, says Cabs. Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. We spent £200 million last summer. We need to keep doing that every year. You know, that summer we've just had, we need to do that for the next 3 years. And maybe after that. That is the new normal. You have to spend £200 million every summer as Manchester United. We've got to keep doing that. So we need an owner that will do that. Talia, I've done that one. And I want the old football back. I'm sick of the greed and corruption football has become. I'm with you, Brain. I am with you on that. And I completely agree with you that. But that's just football and where it's come. The Premier League was created by greedy people, and that's where we are. Do you want fan ownership from the owners, from the new owners? 57% yes, 43% no. I'm not surprised by that. So 57% of you want some sort of fan ownership from the new owner. It might be offered. I think it could be offered. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Honestly, I don't care. I don't really care, because I think that if you've got the right owner, why do we need fan ownership? Why do fans need to be in it? I mean, look at me. My opinions, a lot of you don't agree with. Imagine if I was involved in the fan ownership and people would be like, well, I don't agree with him. And I'm like that about other people. Like, fan ownership, we disagree about everything. Fan ownership is as indecisive as any other ownership. I think what we need somebody in charge who's got the best interest of the club. You know, too many cooks spoil the broth. We need one owner who knows what's best for the club and runs the club. And it's very simple mission statement, as I said, to want the team, club and structure to be the best in the world. That's all we want. We don't need fan ownership to tell us that. We don't need to vote on things to tell us that. We just need that vision. And you don't need fan ownership then, because you've got that drive. And we're never going to pick the next manager, and we're never going to be involved in the transfer market anyway. So for me, it's not massive importance as long as we get the right owners. I think with the Glazers, fan ownership was absolutely essential, and we were right to push for it because they didn't have a bloody clue. But with the right owner, I don't think it would be that important. And again, I suppose there are strands. Do you want fan ownership with responsible ownership, or do you want no fan ownership with multi super wealth owners? And you know, again, I am conflicted. But I suppose the overarching feeling is all these discussions we're having together and in our head, at least we're having them. At least we are having them, because, you know, 2 weeks ago, the Glazers were still here. And they are still here now, I suppose. 50+1 like the German clubs. We need to make sure this never happens again, says Brizey. Thank you, Mark. Just ordered the medium-sized jumper. Have you seen the news from Laurie Whitwell about Sancho training with Dutch coaches? Yeah, I don't understand what that's all about, Isaac, but, you know, good to see him putting the work in. Schwer says, I think Dubai are the best. They want to join the rest of the Middle East, and we are perfect for them to do that. We are the biggest club in the world. Well, what I would say is, I don't know what I think about Dubai owning Man United, but how would you feel if we don't get Dubai ownership and Liverpool do? How do you feel about that? Maybe you're not bothered. Maybe you are bothered. Would you be comfortable with us not having super wealthy owners and Liverpool do? It's a sad situation, as Elton John once sung, and it's created by the fact that money has just taken over football, hasn't it? But I will just give you this as an analogy. I feel that as we come out of the Glazer ownership, there is a very easy way to describe what Man United have been and what we can become. I think under the Glazers, we've been suppressed. I think under the Glazers, we haven't achieved what we're capable of. I think under the Glazers, our potential has been sunk. I think Man United have been like Cinderella. Cinderella, this beautiful football club with so much potential that can't go to the ball, that is walking around in tatters with no shoes on their feet, hidden away, not achieving its greatness. What we need is a fairy godmother that comes along with that glass slipper and enlightens the football club and lets it out of the cellar and back into the worldwide world, because we are beautiful. We are amazing. We have got so much potential. We can light up the football world. And that's what this sale needs to be, because we have been like Cinderella. We have been hidden away. We have been suppressed. And that's what I want. I want to go. I don't want to go back, but I want my kids to see I want my kids to see the Nou Camp. I want them to see Moscow. I want them to see 3 Premier Leagues in a row. I don't know whether we'll ever get to that again, but we never should have lost it in the bloody first place. And we lost it because of the Glazers. We were a very successful club who competed every year. And people say, well, you've got no right to be that greedy. Bayern Munich could do it every year. Barcelona and Real Madrid do it every year. PSG do it every year. We are the Bayern Munich of England. We are the Real Madrid of England. And we've become the Valencia. We've become the Wolfsburg. We've got every right to demand that we fight for the title every year. every right, because that's who we were. And that's where we need to get back to. And whatever ownership comes in, that has to happen. It really doesn't rock my boat that we become a responsible football club that lives within its means. That responsible ownership, I'm not really that interested in. We're Manchester United, and whoever takes us on has to have that in their mission statement, that in the next 5 years we're going to be winning the Champions League. That has to be there. And in the next 3 years we're going to compete for the title. That has to be there. That's the most important thing for me. Andy says, we need to stand by our values and have someone to love the club. We have a fantastic setup that needs state-of-the-art facilities. Let's reset. Just my opinion, but we can have a Dubai-type owner. We need our soul back. We can't have that, says PQ. We need our soul back. We've worked hard for this change. I hope we get rich owners and go all out for Bellingham. Do you think that could happen, or will Liverpool still be favourites, says David? I don't think we'll have the owners quick enough to buy Bellingham, but Cinderella FC, says the Contrarian. Look, these shows are very interesting, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen next. People forget we were in the running to win 2 Champions Leagues back-to-back in 06, 07 and 08, 09, and there were years we had Guard of Honour in April, says Sumi. Exactly. We need to get back to where we were, and that's where we need to be. And, you know, I know we want the club back, and I know we've got all different opinions, and I actually, as always, respect everybody's opinion. I'm not going to ridicule people because they want oil owners, and I'm not going to ridicule people because they just want us to be run responsibly by, you know, by fans. You know, everyone's got an idea on what's best, and the actual honest answer is nobody knows what's best, which is why for me, I just want it to be, I want the mission statement to be, we are going to win the Champions League in 5 years' time. We are going to have one of the best stadiums in the world in 5 years' time. And we're going to compete for the title in 5 years' time. And they've got to deliver that. And then if they don't, then maybe they piss off as well. You know, we need, the standards need to get back where they need to be. But everything that we are talking about and predicting is happening. You know, we've had the Dubai story now. We've got David Beckham being linked to the bids now. I mean, we're not trying to get the Olympics. It's not about who's got the best ex-player attached to their bid. It's about what's the best bid. We cannot play with our future and go, oh, they've got Beckham. Oh, they've got Cantona. Oh, look, they've got Rio. You know, oh, look, they've got Rooney. We can't be like that. We can't be influenced by, what do they call it in business? Incentivization. Come to our stall and we'll give you a free book. No, we've got to be clear-minded about what is the best bid. One bid might have David Beckham, the class of 92, and Cantona, and the other bid might not have any of them. Does that mean that that's better because it's got the legends? We've been down that road before with the legends. Solskjaer, it didn't work out. We need the best bid. That's what we need. We need the best bid. Anyway, look, we'll see what tomorrow brings. Back at night, I'll tell you what, I've got so many other non-takeover stories to talk about you. Loan deals, interesting players. We'll do it tomorrow morning. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. Thanks for